Charles, today's episode, we're going to talk about the Biden administration's plan to handle this fuel crisis. Don't drive.
Yeah. Oh, it's just pathetic. I don't know if you watched Alan Jones, the Australian commentator on Sky, I think.
The only Alan Jones I'm aware of is that dope who hangs out with Mary Fanning. But who's this guy?
He's I think a major league Australian broadcaster host, and he has just been savaging. Why don't we go straight now?
Sure. Yeah, we're in a skateboard danger zone right here as NYU graduation is unfolding. Police are nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. So Alan Jones is a guy who has immense credibility in Australia, and then increasingly around the world, who is just savaging the elder abuse being perpetrated on Joe Biden, and the wider abuse being perpetrated on the wider world.
Yeah.
But he has some clips. Watch yourself.
Yep.
He has some clips of Biden that I was watching just before coming out to meet you, and it really, there's no way that the group of medical doctors and psychiatrists who were quick to diagnose Trump as being incapable of holding office, there's no way that that same group of people couldn't look at these videos and say, what the hell? I mean, he is just spouting gibberish, and that's on a good day. I mean, he's not being woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be asked to, on an impromptu basis.
Gold bike, Charles.
Yeah, on an impromptu basis, figure out what to do because in the next 15 minutes there's Chinese warplanes about to drop nuclear weapons somewhere. I mean, he's scheduled, he has time to rest, he has whatever meds injected into him, and he has asked a simple question, and he's just a babbling idiot.
He can't even tell the difference between New Mexico and Old Mexico. Did you see that? He was talking to the governors, and he said, we have 6 governors here. Governor of Mexico. It's like, dude, no. That is not Mexico.
No, man. It's just, and it must be to the point where there are private conversations going on involving wealthy donors to the Democratic Party and senior figures in the party saying, look, how much longer can we risk this? I mean, apparently also there was this report I read that there's a bump on Biden's head that they couldn't explain, and it was revealed in one of these, in quotes, press conferences where all the questions are probably given Biden in advance, and the answers are read off a teleprompter.
Right.
But apparently in one of these sessions, somebody noticed a bump on Biden's head that hadn't been there before.
And growing a brain?
Perish that thought. No, and so he's going in for a special medical test, and he's promised that he's going to, the team has promised that he's going to get whatever results are issued will be disseminated to the public. But I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either. Charles, perhaps they'll schedule a meeting to talk about young Chinese students, and Joe Biden will show up and realize, what's all this about euthanasia?
It's like when you go to a family gathering or a gathering of friends, and there's people of all ages. There's a 2-year-old and a set of 3-year-olds throwing temper tantrums, and then there's some 90-year-old uncle peeing on the flowers.
Wow.
And, walking around with his pants down. I mean, that's Joe Biden.
It's beyond ridiculous. I mean, he literally, how does he do that twice in a meeting to refer to New Mexico as Mexico?
I think he's just not there. And that's why I say in the beginning it's elder abuse. The Democrats are supposed to be, in theory, according to the captured media, and I repeat myself, they're supposed to be the caring, humane party, and really what they're doing to this old man, this old bat, is reprehensible. I mean, it's a bad message. Frankly, it's a bad sign of how this country treats older people.
Right.
And it's really disrespectful. I mean, the guy, Alan Jones, had a clip I was watching. I don't know if it's true. I think it is true, though. Biden gets up there and he says, the way I've forged progress in the Senate during my 180 years
Yeah.
there. I mean, what? I mean, how do you say something that stupid? And there has to be a medical reason.
Exactly. I was going to say, he started out stupid, but now I agree with you. He is experiencing, unfortunately, dementia that sometimes people have in old age, and it's just beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, and Alan Jones, the same Australian guy, he had great comments. He said, look, and the bad news beyond this is that Kamala Harris is going to be worse. I mean, that she only managed to get 2% of the Democratic vote while she remained in the primary races. She had one, I think, good performance in a debate. Why? Because she jumped all over Biden.
Yeah.
So that's pathetic, frankly. Anyway, there is, I think, some good news for the people who think that I am not too patient on this whole Clinton Foundation stuff, and for the people who are.
But what do they expect you to do? What's the opposite of being patient? You're going to go and like arrest Hillary Clinton yourself or something?
I wouldn't want to catch an infectious disease doing that. But no, the good news comes in the form of an article that John Solomon did in Just the News. And it's on Rantingly just now if people want to try to read it. And John is following the approach, or maybe I'm following the approach that he used, of when he does a story, he also links the actual source document, the important source document, so that the thoughtful, inquisitive minds could go and engage on the actual evidence. So what has happened is there's
a few that remain.
There's a case in U.S. tax court. And U.S. tax, I'm no lawyer, but I'm told that U.S. tax court is a very different animal than other courts. So there's a case where the petitioners, the people bringing the case, are Larry Doyle and John Moynihan, the two whistleblowers
from the Mark Meadows
exactly
hearing.
And you'll recall that Mark Meadows was issuing blistering criticism of Moynihan and Doyle in the hearing because they wouldn't come forward with the evidence.
He's he's got a very nice, pleasant demeanor, so even when he's like yelling at you, he's sort of being nice.
Right, but I remember my first experience watching those type of hearings was when I had a bad case of poison ivy and I was watching the Watergate hearings. And that's when the grandstanding Joint Committee and the Senate Committee, whatever, that's when they really perfected on TV, I think, the art of dressing down a witness.
Right.
Really easy for a congressman or a senator to ask questions of a witness in that setting.
And everybody hated them, right? Like Haldeman and all those guys, they thought they were liars and crooks.
And I think it's pretty important to remember when we think about those type of hearings, who works for whom. The people asking the questions work for we the people, not the other way around. But anyway, this article goes into some depth explaining for the layperson what Solomon believes is going on. And what that is that Doyle and Moynihan commenced this case against the IRS, against the commissioner of the IRS.
Awesome.
And basically, the case is sealed, except for certain portions of it, which from time to time you could take a look into it. And most recently, John ferreted out this item that he links in the story, which is entry number 88 on the docket for that case. It's a 7-page order rather. And it basically seems to say that the administrative record is not complete in this case. In other words, the petitioners have not been able to see information which the judge believes is germane, if not crucial, to the case. And my takeaway from the article is that it appears what happened is that in IRS land, you have civil tax matters and you have criminal tax matters.
Right.
And they're handled in different lanes. And so there's evidence apparent possibly in the record in the criminal case lane that has not been made available for scrutiny, appropriate scrutiny by the petitioners. And this is in order to say, listen, you got to correct that defect to have a complete file here so that we can move forward.
See, Charles, I think this goes on in a lot of different cases where I think this was happening with Dershowitz and Boys, where they have these civil cases that somehow disrupt the criminal or protect something. I don't fully understand it, and I'm not sure what's going on, but feel like something like that is happening. That's an element of lawfare.
Exactly. And so what that's on, I think the plus side is that there's a fair amount in the piece. You want to rent that place?
No, it's closed now. I mean, I feel like a lot of these places continue to close. Sorry.
Yeah. So the plus side here is that it would appear that the meat of the matter in this exercise is going to get more scrutiny. Meatier, yeah. And I think that's good news. It's also, well, I read the order. It does not specifically name the Clinton Foundation, but John, I think, has surmised that it must be the Clinton Foundation. It does talk about the entity as having been created in 1997 and having been around for 24 years, and that isn't exactly when the Clinton Foundation was created. Doyle and Moynihan were very public with their criticism at that Meadows meeting. It got a lot of attention.
Well, in the meeting, they were criticizing Meadows.
Well, yeah, criticizing Meadows, but also the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
And again, just to keep it at a high level, I'm interested in this because it's so, excuse my language, it's a very technical term, don't listen. It is so effed up that the record is this bad. And out there in the public domain, that the IRS has done nothing about it, the FBI has done nothing about it, the Department of Justice has done nothing about it, and yet we go after Corinne Brown, whose case was overturned.
Yeah, that's good news. I don't know if
overturned.
we've spoken about that.
Yeah, we'll go after Steve Stockman. We'll go after the small fries, but we'll let the dynastic presidential political families grift to their heart's content, because that's how the swamp makes money.
Yeah,
And the swamp is pro-grift.
that's right.
It is grift.
That's basically all it is.
Right. But again, to keep this idea at a very high level, the way I would have attacked this now is to say there's a hell of a lot of minutia that scholars can go over for the rest of the time if they want to. But the first question, and the only question that should be answered, is does the Clinton Foundation actually exist as a legal matter?
Right.
And the answer to that question is no. So
you're supposed to not ask questions that you don't know the answer to when you're doing legal stuff.
Right. So the answer to that question is no. So the next question is, all these geniuses around the Clinton Foundation, the David Kendall, the star lawyer, I think now pretty elderly at this point, might be up close to Biden's age.
He's still working though, isn't he?
I guess, grifting or whatever he does.
Is he the one who says he's had a checkered career? Is that him?
Yes, he's the guy he explains that he began his legal career in jail.
Right.
Yeah, okay, put him in charge of Williams and Connolly. Why not? Anyway, that got him a Rhodes Scholarship.
Is he a Rhodes Scholar?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and a Yale Law School graduate.
The Rhodes part is more troubling to me. I mean, you went to Yale. People who are normal do go there, but Rhodes Scholars, I don't trust any of them.
Yeah, there are some who are pretty.
I don't trust them.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, the whole purpose of Cecil Rhodes was to recapture.
But let's, if we can.
Yeah.
Sorry. So keeping it at a really high level, does it exist? If it doesn't exist, can we explain why so many legal, brilliant people, Rhodes Scholars, most of them, have gone around the world signing these legal documents under penalties of perjury, writing reports about an organization that doesn't exist, raising money for an organization that doesn't exist, failing to account for those monies properly over the course of 24 years. Can we explain that? MAGA.
I'm sure they cannot explain it.
Right.
I mean, the question is, will this judge who seems to be pointing these things out, it just feels to me like that's the moment where someone's going to come in and be like, oh yeah, that judge couldn't be here today. Here's the new judge.
No, I don't think so. I think the case, I mean, I don't know.
I hope.
I don't think so. The case here is, I'm given to understand, voluminous. There was a point in time where you could see the index of the case, but they're claiming that they have to, that the website is down for maintenance, and that's why you can't
Pacer sometimes does do that.
but not for months.
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah.
I was looking at it this morning.
So the next high-level question is one that most people might not think to ask, and that is that if you're a public charity, which is a special type of foundation that must stand in the shoes of government, that is to say, the U.S. government,
Yeah.
you can't act as an agent for a foreign government.
Right. And
And
certainly
get
not
taxed.
if you aren't registering.
Well, and that's what they do. That's how they grift.
Well, they didn't want to tell you they were doing it because they thought it might upset you.
That's one of your favorite excuses.
I hear it all the time from other people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I know.
Yeah, that's I think why people lie, right?
Yes, that's why lying was first invented. Okay, with any luck, we'll be back. But wait a minute, I think our audio is not connecting. No, it is. Okay, I think we're back.
Good. Welcome back, Jason. Or Cotter.
Thanks, Charles. Let's just see. I mean, I think we probably lost it. Okay, yeah, we're back.
Okay, now we've got
What
a
were you
red
saying?
light. Well, I was talking about being a foreign agent, that you cannot, as operating a public charity, getting special turbocharged tax deductions for your individual donors. You cannot, you're actually carrying out work as an agent of a foreign government, but that's exactly what the Clinton grift model and the Bush grift model and the Obama grift model is. The U.S. government is, and indeed I think the American Conservative Union grift model, the U.S. government is so big. There's a story that just came out on Zero Hedge that in this fiscal year, which began on October 1st, 2020, in this fiscal year, our government has spent 90% more than it's taken in revenue.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a
doesn't
talent. That's the kind of stuff you expect out of a Beverly Hills second wife. But
I was going to say, that's not a very good metric.
yeah.
Oh, look at how these people are trying to kill us. Obviously from New Jersey.
They are actually right there.
I know, all these idiots are. They're going to the tunnel.
Yeah.
Ah, well, look at that. Great view here, Charles.
Yeah. It's good. There's that poster there for New Hampshire. The motto used to be live free or die. Now it just says live free. So I guess that's where everybody in New York is going to move to. You know, you don't want to, rent's too damn high here. Go up to New Hampshire and live for free. And you don't have to die anymore.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of like Twitter, just a bunch of social media activity and other stupid commentary from de Blasio and Cuomo about how New York is back. I don't know why I'm walking on so many blocks that seem like everything is closed and those guys think it's back.
They just say whatever they want. I mean, the brutal facts that we saw, you and I have been talking about this on this show and on the phone in person. We spotted inflation a long time ago through this whole mess. And today the stock market not crashed, but it was down almost 2%. Because somebody noticed that the official CPI, the Consumer Price Index, inflation statistics show 4.2% annualized rate of inflation. I think it's higher than that. The CPI basket is gamed, the calculations are gamed, and I think what ordinary people, particularly people who have high school and college age and graduate school kids, are seeing inflation at a much higher level than that. Much, much higher.
What do you mean? Because consumer goods or because college is
Because
going
college is so freaking expensive.
up? It's just a waste of money at this point.
I would say so. I mean,
It's worse than a waste of money. It's paying to have your kids mind
indoctrinated.
poisoned.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, in character, are Rhodes Scholar candidates, right?
Well, they're smarter than Joe Biden for sure.
Well, who's Mike Myers?
Wayne's World, yeah.
He's supposedly in real life very smart.
He's every single person who I have spoken with, who's personally dealt with him, say he is one of the worst people to work with. And you'll notice, despite having a number of incredibly successful movies, he doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, one time I ran into him. I was on waiting for a plane, Newark got to California to Los Angeles, and he was young in his career, and there were a lot of pretty important people waiting for the plane, and he was off to the side with his handler, expecting people to care who the hell he was.
Right.
But he is funny.
I agree with that,
Yeah.
but everybody says it's super difficult to work with.
Yeah. So here we are. This is the corner of 6th Avenue, also called Avenue of the Americas. You'll remember, Jason, about a year ago we were walking uptown here, and there were a whole bunch of cops on a Sunday.
Right.
Right over there.
Having some impromptu meeting.
And they wouldn't explain what it is. But look at how busy it is now.
Right.
By comparison. This is a year later. 14 months later. We've had 14 months to stop the spread. And in reality, what it's turned into is 14 months to elect the nearly dead.
And stop the economy.
Stop the economy, exactly.
It's like if we really try hard, we can ruin the entire world in just a year.
Yeah, and of course, when we look at the Trump administration, put that under a microscope, we've got to abuse every judicial process, every FISA warrant, every this and that, scam as much evidence as we can, vacuum clean it from Trump and his family and associates. But when it comes to the election of 2020, looking at this crucial piece of evidence, the Hunter Biden laptop, it's in the public domain at this point, and nobody is doing anything to prosecute Hunter Biden, at least as far as we can tell, the way he deserves to be prosecuted. I mean, Joe Biden's motto is in theory, we've got to build back better. And I think he just wanted to get something that rhymed with Hunter Biden's motto, which is
smoke crack better.
Exactly. You read my mind. Well done.
Well, I mean, is this new?
It is new.
Is it like a combination of a new building with an
old
building?
It is.
Okay, so yeah, but it's for
this whole area used to be primarily business, rundown businesses and rundown, period. And now it's a mixture of these beautiful new buildings, eccentric looking buildings.
The one billionaire who I personally know lives right around here.
Really? On the street corner? Or?
No, I mean like over by Gansevoort.
Uh-huh.
I forget the exact street.
Gansevoort, isn't it like that way?
Yeah, because they all got weird names around here. It's not numbers anymore.
Yeah. I've had a number of very nice meals down here, in and around that way. That's the building I was thinking of. Isn't that the AT&T Long Lines building?
This thing here?
With the big antenna on the top?
33 Thomas Street, I
think.
You see I do see that, and there's a lot of things down here that have radio transmission towers of various kinds, but that's not AT&T as far as I know. That's the AT&T thing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. But this is some other kind of related building, and there's a police precinct around the corner.
Nothing?
Yeah, just up that street there's some nice restaurants.
How's the Nancy Whiskey Pub? Isn't calling somebody a Nancy kind of an insult?
It is, especially in, what are you doing?
What do you think about that totally blacked out outfit of this?
Let's just keep going by him.
That's a person who's up to no good, in my opinion.
I agree. All the more reason to get away from him.
That's the kind of guy I'd be like, hey man, what are you up to?
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, the cops standing right there.
Yeah.
Very preoccupied with the phones. Well, but Charles, what about this gas pipeline? I mean, Joe Biden, this is like the crisis du jour. He is the crisis president because everything he's doing is like immediately creating a crisis. He's got a crisis at the border. Now we got a crisis at the pump. His Green New Deal is you don't actually want to buy food, do you? Because trucks and things need gas, and we're not going to have any of that.
Yeah. Well, it's almost as if the people now running the governments in the United States and some allied governments have been playing a game to find the most incompetent people possible to put them in charge.
Yeah.
And let them completely screw things up. So you ask yourself, who does that benefit? And it benefits primarily the Chinese.
The CCP?
The CCP, absolutely. So we think about where we were. I'm not a huge fan of Jared Kushner.
No, definitely not.
And the way in which he and his family may have been promoting their business interests while Jared was an officer. But I will give him credit and the people around them credit for the Abrahamic Accords, which nearly got all the way across the finish line. I think they were very close to getting the Saudis to sign a peace agreement.
But it's all gone now.
And now it's all hopeless. And it's really a terrible tale what's going on here. We have elements within Israel who have decided to pick on certain Palestinians and other Muslims. Right now, this is, I believe, the end of Ramadan. So it depends on where you are on the
Why
planet.
did they agitate that?
Well, I don't know, but it's like you pick the holiest day or the most important day in Judaism, and you say, well, now that's when we're going to go after you, or you do it on Christmas or Easter or whatever for Christians. So it was a pretty thoughtless approach.
I really enjoy this place.
Roxy, never been there.
They have live jazz music, which you probably wouldn't
That's
like.
why I've never been there.
And a good menu. And it's a nice place.
Is there a section where you can just eat and not listen to the music?
Well, the jazz isn't there every night, and then they also have a movie theater in there that they have like events and play movies. It's a hotel, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, good restaurant though.
Yeah.
So these Abrahamic Accords.
So you look at what, on the one hand, under Trump, as he was leaving, they were really close to forging a lasting peace in the Middle East, that one that might really lower tensions for perhaps decades or even centuries, and now that's all gone.
Yeah.
The situation in, as Obama used to say, Afghanistan, which is probably what we should call it, Afghanistan, because it's gone. This Australian fellow, broadcaster, was talking about how outrageous our exit strategy is, and apparently there are 14,000 Afghan nationals who are translators. Should we go down to, who are translators, and
They'll be killed when we leave.
they and their family are already being killed, and there's no plan to deal with them. And these are people,
Those are the guys they should bring to
Absolutely.
the United States and give them citizenship.
not the people who are swimming across the Rio Grande.
Or I've been hearing stories of wealthy Chinese people paying these coyotes to bring them through Mexico. So go from China to Mexico and then enter the United States.
Right.
And by the way, I meant to tell you this. I just casually walking around, I see more and more businesses opening that are definitely Chinese. They have Chinese writing on them, Chinese decoration inside there. Just now, coming to meet you in the park, I was walking by, there's a Best Buy over there, and a dude came out with a cart full of new computers and office equipment. He was Chinese.
Wow.
Not that there's any problem with Chinese people opening businesses in New York. It's just interesting to me to observe, while many businesses are closing, it's interesting to observe now, a year on, the businesses that are opening. Where are the parents of these
At the
young
very
children?
end of the block. It's pretty safe down here.
I think anybody who lets little tiny kids like that run around New York City without close observation is asking for something horrible to happen.
I agree. But I mean, this is not like doing it in Times Square. So,
It's just a bad idea wherever.
yeah. Billy's Bakery's doing a booming business.
I think actually I've had stuff. There's a few of these, aren't there?
See, people are getting a clearer picture of what divides us. So I don't like jazz and I don't like sweets.
Yeah.
Unlikely to find me at either Roxy's or Billy's Bakery.
Well, I was going to say, I would sit in the jazz club and eat a cake.
Let Jason eat cake.
Yeah.
So, in terms of where matters stand, in the Middle East it's a disaster, on the borders it's a disaster, in Congress it's a disaster. I mean, the stimulus plan is, I think, the large stimulus plan is dead. The people on the inside of Biden's team probably believe that escalating energy prices and because of Middle East tension and because of inflation make it easier to justify the gargantuan Green New Deal spending, which on its face makes no sense.
Right.
But most people in the supposed intelligentsia, in quotes, and I do put that in air quotes without using the air quotes,
Right.
these are people who in the main live in cities. They don't have to deal with driving around and
That's true.
and figuring out, if you're not rich, and you're really watching your money, figuring out how much gas is going to cost.
Right.
Is it going to be available? If it's not available, what do you do? These are life and death decisions.
Well, people are already fighting each other
Right.
at the gas stations. And
But-
then they'll shoot each other.
But as a practical matter, if you're down low on gas and you get to the gas station, there's no gas to fill yourself
Then what
up.
do you do? Right.
Exactly. And if you're already in a place where you don't have any cash because you're out of work.
I'm
So-
sure Elon Musk is making Dogecoin memes right now.
Yeah. Dope coin. But so the energy situation is a disaster, and people don't really think that through properly. This idiot Jennifer Granholm, who's our energy secretary, thank God, not, was almost laughing about how the situation is just giddy that the prices. Well, I think she believes that, as I said, that if the prices remain high, then her green plans can go ahead, and those green plans are just excuses to pay off cronies, as happened in 2009, the last time Joe Bite Me Biden was in charge of anything halfway important. The stimulus, the shovel-ready jobs, which we were assured existed when we gave them the money, and then when they blew through the money, they just laughingly told us, "Oh, we didn't ever have any shovel-ready jobs, sucker."
Like, you believe that?
And that was Jeff Immelt. He was the co-chair of that task force.
What is that thing called? The Business Roundtable? Is that?
No, it was a special task force of people like Jeff Immelt, who had dramatically failed to produce shareholder value improvements at General Electric, getting together with government grifters and contractors, in theory, to do these green infrastructure projects, which of course never worked. Solyndra being one of them. You
I thought that was a pharmaceutical thing.
No, Solyndra was a green energy project.
Huh.
On paper. So going back to these nitwits who hold themselves out as being experts, they're thinking that they'll just walk home or take a city bike, or get on the subway and go home. They don't worry about the gas tank.
Yeah, but trucks have to drive food to the supermarket, and that's going to cost more.
I know, and Granholm said, this is actually going to help people switch to electric cars. And you're like, all right.
Most people can't afford them. It's like twice the price of a regular car.
No, but beyond that, how does she think electricity is made?
Right.
You just
plug it into the wall, Charles.
Right.
Don't be stupid.
Exactly. So
it's just shooting out of there.
Yeah. And then we have the wealth taxes, which are going to be tougher to sell as the market goes down.
I asked you a question about that last time that I don't think I didn't ask it properly.
All right.
So you were telling us that Biden is proposing, look at all this is close. Biden is proposing to add $80 billion to the IRS to pursue
rich people.
Stronger enforcement.
Careful.
So to me, what I was trying to say is that's investing $80 billion in an effort that's intended to obviously bring back more than $80 billion, you would think, because you don't want to invest more than you're going to make. So what type of return would an $80 billion investment need to have in order for it to make sense?
Well, let's even take a step back. The total amount, for example, of corporate income taxes that are collected across the whole U.S. economy, about $300 billion in a year. So the notion that you should, and the money was supposed to be targeted, I think, primarily against individuals who contribute more than $300 billion, but the notion that the amount to begin with makes any sense, $80 billion, doesn't make any sense.
No.
And going back to where we opened with Doyle and Moynihan in the tax case, when you're going against the IRS, they have unlimited resources,
right,
and they're going to delay,
right,
excuse my language, another technical term, they're going to delay the fuck out of the process.
Because they know that you're going to die eventually, and
right,
somebody's going to come replace them and carry on the litigation.
Right. So, as you and I have been saying, and others have been saying for now almost 6 years, if you want to raise a lot of money using the laws that are already passed and the regulations that are already out there, what you do is you take down the monopolist crooks,
right,
like Bill Gates,
yes,
who have been using foundations to virtue signal and launder their own reputations and likely assist in laundering money. You go after those things with a vengeance, and you get all of their money back from the foundation and from the individuals involved, the Warren Buffetts, the Bill and Melinda Gates. You assess penalties, fines, and interest against them, and you will not only plug the budget gap pretty quickly, you will send a powerful message that the swamp game of grifting using foundations and fake and false front charities, that game is over. And the problem with that game, if we wanted to really do what I think Doyle Moynihan and I and others would like to do, when you run these foundations, there's no way of doing it anonymously. You have to file paperwork, and it's in the paperwork that you have the incriminating evidence, where in many cases there's no statute of limitations. So this stuff is already out there, and the real question, as I started to say a number of minutes ago, is not how big is the fraud, it's how many people in the criminal justice system have been complicit in obstructing real investigations into these frauds, and why. Why have they done this?
Right.
Careful. This is all of that.
So we're back down by City Hall for people who maybe might not recognize that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's only, I guess it's a few months since we've been down here together, but
It's actually
there's
quite a
definitely
few
more
months.
businesses closed.
Well, you have visitors from out of town sleeping peaceably on the street here.
Yeah, that guy actually looks like dyed in the wool.
I know. I hope he's okay. He doesn't look terribly alive.
No, I heard him snoring, actually.
Did you? That was possibly me. A great ventriloquist.
Snortriloquist.
Yeah, Snortel.
Charles Snortel. That's pretty good.
So yeah, this is
This guy
indeed
looks like
City
he
Hall
is,
to the left.
Pregnant with a question.
Sorry? You were asking me about the wealth tax. Did I answer that question?
Well, it's just, I mean, again, I'm sort of asking, another one of these questions that I already know the answer to. There's almost nothing. Hopefully this will bring us back. I think we're back.
Good.
I hope we're back. So you were saying, Charles, about the IRS.
Yeah, that we see in the Doyle Moynihan case the degree to which it is likely, and John Solomon elaborates on it, that probes into the Clinton Foundation dating as far back as 2001 were impeded, stopped, were just shadow probes. And my working theory on that is that the practice of grifting using these presidential foundations is one that began before Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly involved the H.W. Bush team, the W. Bush team, and now involves the Obama team, Clinton team, and the many people who look at all this and say, look, I can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I can say that I can't go to sleep without thinking about all the good work I want to do fighting climate change, or, making sure that the planet doesn't heat up. Oh, it's cooling down, making sure it doesn't cool down.
Let's block the sun.
So yeah, that's brilliant.
That woman who we spoke to on Sunday or whatever was like, oh yeah, Bill Gates is great. He's going to block the sun. I wanted to ask her, have you ever heard of James Bond?
Right. Well, or actually,
nobody wants to block the sun except for a supervillain.
Well, if you go back into Zero Hedge the last 24 hours, there's a story that's now, I think, over 250,000 views on Gates.
Wow. Oh yeah, right. I wanted to ask you about that.
Where it talks about this supposed genius had made so much money at a young age, had a big mansion.
Fake genius.
Fake genius had a big mansion with an indoor swimming pool, and decides after he gets married and as he's bringing kids into the world that it's a capital idea to go cruise the all-nude strip clubs, if this is true, and bring these strippers back to his house.
It was the testimony of Microsoft employees, wasn't it?
I'd say it's in the book. I haven't read the book, but just characterized in the Zero Hedge speech. You start there and you say, that is just an appalling lack of judgment. Forgetting the moral issues, it's an appalling lack of judgment. That whole all-nude stripping business is run by the mob. It always will be. And those girls can't just go to Gates' house and not tell their bosses what they found.
But not only that, when you're paying women to come to your house, they're hookers.
Exactly. But so you look at this guy and you say, in his 30s, he was reckless and fucking stupid, right, in his personal life. And now, age 65, somebody says, well, we thought we had a problem with global warming. Now it's global cooling, but maybe let's call it climate change. I know.
We're going to inject hookers into the atmosphere.
We'll dim the sun. That's a brilliant idea. I mean, because it's not going to affect any other planet or any other part of the universe. Let's just dim the sun.
I don't care about other planets. I just think like that's a project that once you start doing, it's like, hey, by the way, you dimmed it too much.
Right, exactly.
Oh, now what? Oh, nothing. We're just, everything on the planet will die.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, what if he does that and in 5 years there's like half as many trees?
Yeah,
So the whole idea sucks.
St. Paul's Chapel.
I know, we've been by here before and it's interesting. I'm intrigued by this bird with the handshake. I don't know what that's really about.
I don't either.
And it's also
So-
kind of strange to have a cemetery in the middle of the city.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, this is old New York. This is kind of the edge of the city at that time. Here's the original AT&T headquarters building.
The other thing I found weird about that, Charles. Wow, this guy. had even more damage than me.
I wouldn't be trying to pick up chicks in that car.
No, well, that's what I was going to say. The other thing that I found implausible about that article is that it said that Bill Gates was a womanizer. I was like, are you kidding me?
No, absolutely. Some of the scariest looking people are the most outrageous.
I just feel like that's the wrong word for it.
Yeah.
He's a frequent customer of prostitutes. He's a John. I don't think he's a womanizer. A womanizer to me implies somebody that, you know, is with a lot of women, but the women are, it's like some handsome guy, like, who's...
You don't think Bill Gates is handsome?
I just don't think he's a womanizer. I think he's got a lot of money and he's able to hire a lot of prostitutes.
But so
It's
this
not the same as womanizer.
Right. So the story, though, when you get into it, the details of the story, which need to be corroborated, they could be wrong,
Yeah.
are that Gates, from very very early age, in college, for the 1 year that he was at Harvard, I think it was only a year, would spend time in the equivalent of Times Square in what's called the combat zone, cruising.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
You don't have to admit it that quickly, Jason.
I think I've been there.
Oh,
I remember
that's a
hearing
better-
about it in
that's a-
Boston and thinking it was...
I read an essay
Combat
about it.
zone.
I read an essay about it. But anyway, so he's been doing this
God.
kind of questionable stuff for
Do
a
you
long,
smell
long time. And then it says that what he would do once.
If it'll start right up again, or if it's back to that old problem that I thought had been, not old problem, but relatively new problem that I thought had been resolved. Let's just see if we're restarted here.
This is where if we had music, you know that song, that old Black Magic.
Yeah.
What we turn
Oh,
it
I think it's back.
with that song, that old Black Magic. In the background, we'd have that old crack magic.
That could be Hunter Biden's theme song.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, so what were you saying there?
Melinda Gates not noticing any of this, but more importantly, the Gates Foundation being so actively involved with fraud after fraud, ongoing fraud,
Right.
that's perpetrated even as we speak by the Clinton Foundation. Specifically, I mean, they funded to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, CHI, Clinton Global Initiative, Foundation itself, Brown Brothers Harriman's here.
But it's under construction of some kind, that giant Saturn cube.
But there's a project called No Ceilings, the Full Participation Project, which as far as I can tell is not registered anywhere.
What is that supposed to be? Cracking the glass ceiling?
Right, pounding through the glass ceiling, and it's jointly run, or I think by Melinda and either Hillary or Chelsea or somebody from the Clinton Foundation, and that's yet another example of something that doesn't legally exist. It's particularly galling to me because, I don't know, it's pretty noisy. Let's see, where is that noise coming from? You want to
Do
go
you think
that
the
way?
fuel crisis will affect Mr. Softy?
You mean the price of crack? You want to go that way so
Sure.
we'll get it?
I see an interesting sculpture
Yeah,
that I'm
that's
not
a-
sure we've looked at before.
I have. That's an Isaac Calder's statue, I think. It's that's at the base of what used to be Chase Manhattan Bank.
Wow. That's like some electric, I haven't seen that.
Silly
exactly.
looking bike.
Wait, Charles, it's interesting to observe, though, that, first of all, this truck has that Nazi symbol on it, but it's
Which
interesting
one?
to observe this truck right here has the Nazi symbol that was cause of controversy at CPAC. Interesting. But what I was going to say is, it's interesting to observe that as activity is starting to at least resume, it coincides with this hack, which I haven't seen any
Right.
evidence of hacking of the pipeline, but we'll stay on what you were talking
Yeah,
about.
if you don't mind, I just would like to complete the thought because I don't want to leave it hanging. So here's Melinda Gates. If you'll remember, back in 2015, I only remember this vividly because I wrote that piece about
So many red flags.
in, I think it was early March 2015, somebody figured out, or the Clinton Foundations or the Clintons were forced to admit that 100% of her email traffic went on unsecure private servers. And there was a huge outcry. At that point, she was far and away the favorite to get the Democratic nomination. And of course, my reading of her attitude was, you think I'm going to take questions? Fuck you. But so anyway, they maneuvered it into a place where she had to take questions. And so Hillary deigned to give a press conference at the UN, where she began by saying, I'm sorry I'm late, but my husband and I, through our foundations, have been doing a lot of work together with Bill and Melinda Gates, and the project that Melinda and I are working on.
Drop this right here.
What?
Name dropping.
Yeah, exactly. Bang, name drop. Bang, boom. The project that we were discussing, we can't go through. It doesn't let out an episode.
But can't we look at that sculpture?
Oh, we can if you want. Yeah. I'm not sure you can get out the other way, but we'll try.
There's a fence in front of it, but it looks very Alice in Wonderland-ish, so if we talk about it, someone might try to put an article in the New York Post about bombing it.
At the time that this sort of stuff was first coming out, it was groundbreaking. I look at this, and the first thing that comes to my mind, Keith Haring, crack is whack, man. And you were on it doing that sculpture.
Oh, is it Keith Haring?
This isn't Keith Haring, but the phrase "crack is whack" comes to my mind, my twisted mind.
Oh, I didn't realize that came from Keith Haring.
Yeah, he.
I thought he was an AIDS activist.
He did an iconic mural saying just that. Oh, I guess you can get out there over there. Crack is whack.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I think he's dead though, isn't he?
He's still dead.
He died of AIDS, didn't he?
I think so. I'm not sure. I think that's a Calder, but I may be wrong. Maybe we'll figure it out in a second.
It looks like propellers or mushrooms, or.
It does look like mushrooms to me. But
it's very Alice in Wonderland to me. So what's going to happen to Melinda Gates? You think nothing?
Well, let's just get into this a little bit more. So it's one thing to say, well, I got 3 kids by this guy, and
are there 3? I thought there was only
3.
1.
I'm talking about Bill and Melinda now. Bill and Melinda Gates have 3 children.
Okay.
I got 3 kids. We tolerate each other. We got all these toys. We fly around the world. I can have my own life, and I got my foundation. I can understand, and that's a Camille Cosby approach, right? That she had to know that Bill Cosby.
Yeah, this guy will be dead soon, and I'll get all the money.
Right,
I'm sure that's what she's thinking.
Well, Camille was thinking.
Give me another Quaalude.
That's right. Exactly. So, but when you start having the old phrase "birds of a feather flock together," when you start having those pictures of Gates and Epstein and sundry other people who are deeply suspicious, my experience has been that women who are in a romantic relationship have a sense of sniffing out infidelity and sniffing out flirtatious behavior, let's say, of the spouse that's a significant other that's pretty well developed. And I just can't understand why she would stay so long with him. I can't understand why she would have only be thinking seriously about divorce in 2019. But now that the record suggests that's the case, I think...
What happened?
Well, I think, just remember, this is the old entrance, the main partner's entrance, 46 William Street. There was I had the responsibility of doing the annual reviews when I was a young kid at Dillon Reed, and we commissioned an artist to do, it was very beautiful back in the day, a print of that doorway, and I have the only copy.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Was Radisson there when you...
Hell no. Rats were there.
But this looks like it was a hotel for a long time.
It wasn't the Radisson. That wasn't a hotel. That was just an office building.
It wasn't a hotel.
But
so Melinda Gates is... something must have changed, right?
Well, so when we think about what could be happening here, right? In the case of my crusade against GE, which continues, when I started on it in late 6, early 7, thereabouts, highly experienced and well-connected people would say, Charles, look, even if you're right, they're going to squash you like a bug.
Right.
Right? And we see that so far has not happened.
Right. It's like, come at me, bro.
And so then you then you get into
Subway's back to 24 hours.
On May 17th. You can get your COVID.
So you could get killed at any time of day or night.
You get your COVID shots in the subway. I'm not kidding. That's the
device. No, I know. And I saw that and I was thinking, that makes perfect sense, because any kind of sterile medical treatment that I want, I'm getting it on the subway.
Right, with the rats are right there.
Yeah.
We're not going to kill the rats. We're going to bring you to the rats.
You can start doing open heart surgery on the L train. That's appealing.
Yeah. So,
now wait, see, here's another
pizza
There's
place.
a lot of
This
pizza
has been around
places.
for a while.
Is it? It looks
Let's just get down to the truck.
Pizza never sleeps, according to that.
So back on Gates, it was very interesting to me the swiftness with which this story has come out, the degree to which the mainstream press is already
Bill Gates, yeah,
taking it on. And if you're going to get into malfeasance involving Bill Gates, you're going to have to go back into history and say, how did Bill Gates, as a 19, 20-year-old, put together a team that built this gigantic, effective monopoly that remains unbusted to this day? How did he do that? Did he do it alone? Or did he have help? And if he had help, who did he have help from?
The mom.
Well, from maybe the deep state.
Right.
When you think about a project to have this software installed in virtually every computer around the world, it certainly has back doors in it. And so maybe we'll take this guy and make him, a multi-billionaire. We know about his proclivities. We got him under control. And when he starts getting too uppity, we remind him.
Steady supply of strippers.
Exactly. We could do that.
Or we remind him if he starts getting too uppity.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Remind him of what?
Epstein.
Right.
And the same story might very well apply with the Facebook, with the Twitter, with the Google. Shall we go down?
What time does Wall Street close? Like 2?
Well, 4 o'clock.
Oh, so where is everybody?
They're out of here.
They're gone.
And I don't know if they're
the stream comes out of there, but are they not even in there anymore?
It's interesting. Some of those shares I own, there's 2 out of the 3 just there.
On the ticker there?
Yeah.
But I mean, isn't there just usually a huge crush of people around this building?
Not at this time.
Okay.
And this is when I used to go on CNBC on the floor, which is fun. It's actually when I used to go there, the floor was very small, and these sets that you see of me sitting next to Maria Bartiromo or somebody like that, I mean, you're just cheek by jowl with these people, right next to them. Everybody, all the other competitors are all there too, and it's sort of interesting. What?
Here's that statue of the little girl. I thought she was standing in front of the bull. Did they move her?
The bull is on Broadway.
But wasn't this little girl defying the bull at some point?
I don't know.
I thought I saw a picture. I thought the point was she's standing in front of the bull.
That's if it's a little girl defending the bull, then that is certainly defying the bull. That is certainly not Hillary Clinton. She is the bull.
Yeah. Wait, I hear some dog alone squealing. That's the second time we've seen a dog alone on the street.
Yeah, that's dinner.
But no one seems to own that dog.
I don't know. There's a bunch of dogs out here, right there, playing with a ball. It could be, yeah. There are 4 dogs, referring to the animals.
Right.
So anyway, back then on this issue of Melinda and Bill Gates, if you're going to start taking on Gates, and you're going to start taking on the Gates Foundation, you're going to get to Warren Buffett, as we've been discussing in the past, that Warren Buffett has plowed a bunch of money into this Gates Foundation and has been working with Bill and Melinda to raise money for other people on the theory that give money to Gates Philanthropy Partners because we'll do with your money the great job that we're doing with our own. Well, that calls into question whether or not the Gates Foundation is indeed doing good, or whether they're engaged in a massive fraud with the Clinton Foundation and other leaky charities that are not reported properly. So I think I'm told by people who've been in government before and prosecution before that when decisions are made to go against really powerful people, they jump through hoops to make sure that you even started such a project, because
Without knowing it's exactly what it is.
You got him dead to rights. So with Bill Gates, I mean, Bill Gates can hire more lawyers than our government can hire.
That's true.
And easily, and keep them motivated.
And what I've learned is that it doesn't matter what the facts or the law are. If you have enough lawyers, you can jam somebody up quite effectively and strategically maneuver them in a lot of ways.
And there's a case that actually piqued my interest when I started looking at GE. There was this really irascible guy called Gary Aguirre, who Aguirre, who decided that he wanted to go work for I think the SEC late in life. And he applied, he got turned down, he applied, he got turned down, he applied again, he got turned down. And he made a real nuisance of himself. So they got a job
at the SEC?
At the SEC, and he was given the task of prosecuting, or looking into prosecuting GE and the former CEO of Morgan Stanley. And what happened in that case is the people who were receptive to that case were suddenly hired away by other law firms. You know, so people who were going to side with Aguirre.
So they just isolated the guy.
They isolated the guy and fired him, so he sued. Now I forget what the disposition was in the end of it, but so far, and I believe this is by design, the regulators do not have either the financial resources, the human resources, or the will to go after the biggest frauds. They just don't seem to have it. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, we have this positive development with Moynihan and Doyle. Net positive. There's some negatives to it, but we have the notion here that people are attacking Bill Gates. We have some brave people. The woman who wrote that book, There's No Such Thing as a Free Gift, who wrote a book a number of years back criticizing the Gates Foundation.
Who was that?
I knew you'd ask me, and the name will come to me.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up when you mentioned Warren Buffett, I don't know if I've discussed this with you or if you're otherwise aware of it. Did you know that Warren Buffett, he has some like young millionaires club or event or something? Yeah. Seth Rich was at that when he was 13 years old, and he's pictured with Warren Buffett. At one point it was on the internet, and people should remember that. Now wait a minute, this just froze again. What happened?
Don't know.
Oh man, we're going to get another one of these messages that our broadcast is out of gas here.
Good thing we're not as far away from where we started as we might be.
Yeah, but I can't get the camera started here. Let's see if we can get this back. Okay. So, I have a feeling this is going to require another lengthy restart. Anyway, the thing that I'm trying to get at, if we're still broadcasting, is nobody has really asked Warren Buffett about what's going on with Seth Rich, and all the people who like alternative news and are listening to, you know, Parler and Frank's Speech and this kind of thing. I think we might be back. Wait a minute. Oh.
Trump just issued a statement. Did Joe Biden put Hunter in charge?
It just lost it again. Yeah, that's a good statement from Trump. Well, we should talk, Charles, about Trump's, we talked about it over his new website where he's sort of tweeting. I saw a thing that said that people aren't really looking at it too much. It's not cooperating. It says it was going to add it, but I don't see it adding. Oh. This is taking years off my life.
Sorry.
No, it's not. Your fault here. Okay, so get on the network and stay on it, damn it. you know, when you see the number of Wi-Fi things that are going on down here, it's amazing that we're not getting cancer in 5 minutes. All right, I hope we're back.
Okay. You were talking about Buffett?
Well, I think that you're right, that Bill Gates is kind of connected up with Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has this quite bizarre, many years old relationship with Seth Rich. Anything that happens related to Seth Rich seems to be surrounded by weirdness with social engineers and periodic.
Well, one common thread that we haven't explored enough. By the way, that's Francis Tavern. That's where the Puerto Rican nationalists blew that up.
Oh, right.
And Trump,
Bill Clinton pardoned him.
Yeah, exactly. And my former father-in-law was in there at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Is
a
it
nice
still
smell.
the same restaurant?
Yeah. It's quaint.
That was the FALN, right?
Yes. So
Which
do you
I
want to
always
go? You want to go that way?
Confused with the delicious dessert.
Yeah, let's go this
flan.
way. Let's go this way.
I can't tell if we're
Unless
back.
this is too bright.
It's fine.
Because if we go this way, we can end up going up the west side and end up showing people a part of New York that's also pretty interesting that we haven't seen yet.
Are we back?
I don't know.
Someone's saying I got a booger. Maybe that's possible. Boogers happen, Charles.
Booger lives matter.
Booger lives matter. Yeah, no, I was just saying that Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Patrick Byrne, and Patrick Byrne acting so weird and assaulting me and being a jerk.
So Gates and Buffett have had this long-standing, almost grandfather-grandson relationship, and a pretty big age difference. Maybe it's father-son. They like to play bridge together. They socialize together. I wonder what that means. But you have to be pretty brave, or stupid, or both, to take on Buffett, and that's something I've been doing as well. That I think he is way past his prime. I think he's selling a bunch of horseshit.
Oh, really? The stocks, you mean? Or whatever, his Berkshire Hathaway thing?
Yeah, I mean, the mathematical proof that he offers up, or his team offers up for how they're outperforming, doesn't hold water.
Bernie Madoff style?
It's not Bernie Madoff, but it just doesn't hold water. So back when he started Berkshire, he had actually had a hedge fund, sort of a hedge fund, part of that, and he wound it up. And he didn't have the kind of competition that he has had really since the 1995 period or afterwards. There weren't big leveraged buyout shops, there weren't large hedge funds and aggressive hedge funds who could compete against him. And his original theory was that his team would add value to the investments that he would make. And that evolved over time, and I just buy good management and I don't interfere. Well, anybody can buy good management. You don't need to pay an acquisition premium to buy a company that you're not going to attempt to improve. And then beyond that, he doesn't believe in paying dividends. So he wants to collect dividends, but he's not going to pay to his own shareholders any dividends. And I think that just doesn't make any sense. Either you believe in dividends, which I do. I think if you're going to find companies where the management's going to work for free, you shouldn't invest in them because they don't know what they're doing. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to work. Why should he work for free?
Well, right. That's what I try to tell people on YouTube.
Yeah, so in my view, if you're going to enter into a business venture and let's say I'm the one providing the capital and I don't intend to work, if you want a salary, I want a dividend. You know, we'll figure it out how to make it make sense. I don't want a dividend from at
the expense of the company.
Right, I don't want a dividend from a concept company. I wouldn't invest in a concept company, but you know, a company that's just getting started is not able to pay dividends, but it's been around for a while. And I'm putting cash in. Let's go in the shade in a second, Jason. I want a dividend. So there are a lot of inconsistencies in the Buffett story, in my view. As you rightly said about the IRS, you talk about making money on an $80 billion investment. Berkshire is way bigger than $80 billion. So it just becomes more and more difficult to outperform the competition the more capital you get. So I haven't liked the Berkshire story. In fact, I didn't like it back in 2008 on Bloomberg TV after I identified GE. Somebody said, thinking I would not be able to come up with another GE. They said,
I think there's a lot of them around.
He said, well, you were right on GE. Do you have any other companies like that? And I said, yeah, Berkshire Hathaway. This was before Berkshire put the money into Goldman Sachs.
Oh, commercial.
Exactly. and for a time, COVID testing site. Right.
In that van.
Exactly. This must be.
Don't get in that thing.
So you can go down to the subway and have some rat sashimi.
They throw you in that van. They take you down to the subway.
Right.
It's an abduction.
Yeah. Instead of getting, what do you call it? The sun, those tanning salons.
Yeah.
You get a blood transfusion. You get some COVID testing done. You get to breathe the noxious air in the subway, which apparently is really, really bad now.
They tested it and said that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, oh, we tested the water and found out it's wet. I knew that already.
This is a famous old station, Bowling
Yeah.
Green, where in the old days they would actually
You could
lawn ball. Yeah.
Is this it?
I don't know if this precisely is it.
This looks like a beagle to me, Charles.
Jason, you were overdue for a dog, I think.
I was reading an article that said that a lot of people who got dogs during the pandemic are returning them. And obviously you wouldn't want to do that. And as much as I think dogs are cute and fun, I just don't believe I have the time or...
If you had a talking dog, that would be
If I had a house where the dog could hang out outside, that would be fine. But I just think having a dog in a small apartment is...
That dog doesn't hunt?
That's not something I can do. I don't think I could properly...
If we go up this Greenwich Avenue here, we'll, I think, be more insulated, Greenwich Street or Greenwich, whatever it is, we'll be insulated from the wind after a little bit. And we'll see a lot of interesting construction up in here.
Actually, a Chinese company that I'm pretty sure was trying to steal my 3D technology was in that building over there. They had made a 3D iPad,
Really?
or like an Android pad. Yeah, it was interesting.
What did they call it? The Chai Pad?
No, it was, I forget the name of the company, but it was interesting, but it never took hold really. And
If you really want to have an unpleasant experience, you can go in here. I think we're going to walk by the Department of Motor Vehicles down here, right in here, I think. Right ahead.
The one that I go to is up. They moved it since the last time I.
There
It was on
happens
34th Street or
to be
something.
one right here, and it is excruciatingly painful.
Reservations only.
Oh yeah, not because of COVID.
Oh yeah, I was going to tell you. I noticed that you were talking about tanning salons. That big tanning salon right near my apartment closed.
Oh yeah, that's a while ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Starbucks has gone there.
That's when I left. I mean, that was open when I left for the road trip.
And Dunkin' Donuts is gone.
Well, and now I also just found out today that it's no longer Dunkin' Donuts. It's just called Dunkin'. Here's this guy's electric motorcycle that we saw just a minute ago.
Yeah.
So why don't you think that's about the stupidest marketing idea ever, to take a brand like Dunkin' Donuts and change the name to just Dunkin'?
Yeah, I don't even like the idea of dunking a donut. I mean, I actually think Dunkin' Donuts coffee is not saying much, but it's way better than Starbucks.
Huh.
And it's a little bit, you put sugar in it obviously to make it sweeter, but
Which has more crazy people at the place.
oh, definitely Starbucks. That's like, they should call it woke bucks or woke pennies, the way they're going.
You should just call it 10,000 Maniacs. Come have coffee.
Yeah. And that sign for Starbucks, isn't it? I don't know if that actually is a satanic symbol, but if
Yes,
it is,
it's some sort of beast. It's this like half woman, half fish. And then the original Starbucks logo was super crazy looking, and they changed it to be a little bit more of a cartoon version of that.
right. Yet another argument for living in Seattle, where that company originated.
Also Bill Gates.
Also Bill Gates, exactly.
All
Not
right,
not
well-
knowing the specifics, but just taking a guess. There are so many lines against him now. Maybe we'll go this way.
Yeah.
That he's got divorce lawyers he's got foundation lawyers, he's got tax lawyers.
I think when Bill Gates calls your law office, you're like, ah.
Well, don't forget his father is a big lawyer.
Is his father still alive?
Last I heard, yeah. I mean,
He's got to be really old.
Like my dad's age. In fact, Gates and I are, I think, the same age. But yeah. I mean, Gates, unlike Trump, will certainly get as much legal representation as he wants.
Speaking of Gates and Trump, remember, well, I don't think Trump is getting as much legal representation as he wants because they've politically ostracized any lawyer that would approach Trump, something that certain people are trying to do to me.
Right.
And my choice of lawyers, given the amount of money that I have versus Bill Gates, is much
At
smaller.
present.
I mean, it's just, I bring it up not because woe is me, but because I want to point out that these are tactics from a playbook that probably have been going on for a long, long time, but we haven't had loudmouths on YouTube like me until pretty recently to help people understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think they do it to Trump on a super high level, and they do it to me on a much lower level. I might have mentioned to you that Stephen Biss,
Disciplined.
well, not only disciplined, sanctioned and ordered to pay $21,000.
Not 33?
Not 33. $21,000 to CNN for their legal expenses, which sounds incredibly low. I don't know what kind of deal CNN is getting from their lawyer, but that was a judge in Maryland, not Virginia, where Mr. Biss is licensed to practice. He's got to appear pro hoc vice in these other jurisdictions, and the judge has had enough. Sanctioned him $21,000. From my conversation with other lawyers, a sanction of that dollar amount is huge.
Not good. Yeah.
They're very reluctant to do anything like that at all to a lawyer.
Yep.
And that guy represented Robert David Steele and Steele v. Goodman. That guy represents Devin Nunes in a litany of ridiculous lawsuits. So that's a little tiny bit of justice.
It is. So I don't know how much more time we'll have, but we should talk a little bit about the American Conservative Union and Foundation.
Plenty of time.
So, lo and behold, the more I dig, the more I discover that the very same defects that exist throughout the Clinton Foundation's, the supposed Clinton Foundation filings, are present in the American Conservative Union Foundation filings.
Surprise, surprise.
So, there's one trick that I figured out, which is also the case in the Clinton Foundation, that with regard to the American Conservative Union Foundation and the American Conservative Union, there are actually 4 activities that I know of so far that are in theory accounted for. There is the activity they want to declare for the union and for the foundation. Then there is the accounting for something called Conservative Political Action Conference, the thing that you were kicked out of, which they call it CPAC. Maybe we should call it Crap Pack. But they. We learn in the PACER filing that I went back through yesterday, we learned that indeed in the statement of facts, the government and Diana Carr state that Carr was in charge of keeping the books and records and monitoring the bank accounts of something called Conservative Political Action Conference, which has never had books shown to the public, as far as I can tell.
So that's in the government's complaint, criminal complaint against her?
No, it's in the statement of facts, which they agreed to accept the plea bargain. So they have, as I understand it, the two parties get together.
But that statement of facts appears in what document?
As part of the guilty plea agreement. So you do a statement of facts, my understanding, and that statement of facts is agreed upon by both sides, right. And on that basis you then sign this agreement. I agree, based on these facts, to plead guilty.
That court document becomes evidence for something else, like you can't...
Right, and the government says, and I'm not taking you to trial, I'm allowing you to accept this plea because we both agree on these facts. And so those facts seem to state that there were books and records for something called Conservative Political Action Conference, which we learn in other American Conservative Union Foundation filings was sponsored in theory by the American Conservative Union Foundation through 2011. Now, that's significant because there's multiple streams of revenue into the American Conservative Union Foundation, and indeed into any charity. You have, are you okay?
I'm just looking at these things that are outside telling us to do that.
You have the normal type of contributions and donations. You have membership charges, but then you have what's called program service revenue, and that may, depending on how it comes to you, may be taxable. And so
that's for a C4.
No, that's for a C3.
Oh.
That may be taxable, and maybe also for.
Should
C4.
we go through this way?
I think I'm mindful of the distance.
Sure.
You know, we're already at 5.
Yeah.
Past 5. So well, we could pan to it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's quite a distance away, actually, over there.
Well, we'll see the World Trade Center when we go through over here.
But I'm thinking those new buildings all the way over there.
Yeah. Hey, is that New Jersey? I think it is.
Could be. Or as Bill Gates likes to call it, all New Jersey. But
And this we've seen before. This
Right.
C21 with the birds.
so just if I go, there's the union, there's the foundation, there's the conference for which we don't have books. Some years the results of the conference may be inserted into the results of the American Conservative Union, or maybe into the foundation. We don't know yet because it's not broken apart the way it should be. And we don't know whether the revenue streams that go first to CPAC are program service revenues that might be taxable, or whether they're actual donations. We do know, looking through some of the big donors in some of those important years, that they thought they were giving money to the foundation, but the union claims it as their incoming revenue.
Oh, yeah, we saw that 5,000 from the whatever.
25,000, the other one, yeah. And so that's just 1 year that we have in that case.
Anschutz or whatever.
Anschutz. And yeah, and then the fourth stream, and there may be other streams, the fourth stream of revenue is revenue that arises by these direct mail companies that send out the mass solicitations, where the checks and cash or whatever come back to the mass
Right.
mailer, and you don't know how much that money actually should have been given in the given period to either the union, the foundation, or both. You just don't know because we don't have that evidence yet. Real accountants would know, but because these things have never been audited properly, no one's really gotten to the bottom of it. So there are these 4 pieces of the puzzle. And then an interesting thing I noticed this morning is that in the foundation, there's an audit actually, in quotes, for 2010, and there's an audit for 2011. And in the audit for 2011, they claim that they needed to make prior period adjustments to 2010 for the foundation, meaning they had failed in this case to notice that there'd been a substantial drain on the net worth as of December 31st, 2010 of the foundation. It had been reported as being like 280,000, and once they got through changing it, it was actually 26,000. So it was a huge knock on it.
It's just a minor discrepancy.
90% of your net worth wiped out.
Oh.
So if you see that type of an adjustment on foundation, if the only pieces of the puzzle in the wider group are foundation and union, you should have an offsetting set of adjustments in union. But there is no offsetting set of adjustments, which confirms my suspicion that what's been going on here is there's probably a 5th or even more than 5 pockets of activity with dollars going towards the people who are claiming they're running these activities, and then the people collecting the money deciding first how much to steal, quote, divert, which is what Diana Carr was doing and why she went to prison for a year. But how many other people were involved with this? Then the other thing I noticed, which we'll probably cover the next time we're in studio, is I found what looked to me like big differences in David Keane's signature.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in certain documents versus other documents, making me wonder whether the wife was signing his name or somebody else was signing his name. And so there's much more to this story, I think, to tell once people decide to really wrap their minds into it, which I hope they will.
Well, I hope we get a chance to speak to some of these people, David Keane, Matt Schlapp, etc.
I think that's called
Deposition?
Snowball's Chance in Hell. It's not going to happen. This is, I think, when we first met, this is where
that's
I
the
let you
station.
and the people off, and I walked home, and you and
Did you see that ad that said "Stop staring"? It had eyeballs. They love having the eyeball image. And look at this, all these grand openings of pizzerias. It's very weird.
a nation of pizza, Jason. A pizza in every pot, or pot in every
Wow,
pizza.
and I'm proven
is the
wrong
back
yet
of that-
again. Oh, it's the same one.
St. Paul.
Now is like the sneeziest time. Does that dog have Dogecoin? It's the sneeziest time of the year right now.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Shiba Inu?
I don't know what that is. In certain countries, that's dinner.
I think that's a Shiba Inu, which is the
Don't curse on air.
that's the dog. So, and here's another thing that I suspect of money laundering: all of these junk tourist stores that have been open for a year when there have been virtually no tourists.
And why would you buy any of this?
Well, I wouldn't, but I'm saying the fact that so many of these stores have remained open selling crap it causes me to believe that these are all money laundering operations.
I mentioned this before, but that building over there, 100, is the headquarters.
Django one?
On the left was with the American flag there. Was the headquarters of Moody's, the service that rates debt.
Right.
And when I launched my assault on GE, I sent a detailed memo to the CEO and legal people at Moody's myself. I personally delivered it.
And what they say?
F you.
Why?
They just figured, SWAT.
And what did they say after?
They didn't say much after.
They were in a crappy Moody.
Jason,
After
you're
that.
good at that.
I'm on fire today, John. Half of them don't even blurt out because I don't want to interrupt you
That's okay.
more frequently than I already do.
That's okay.
Who is Pierre Toussaint?
I think a famous, I forget if he was a Haitian,
Fabian socialist?
revolutionary, or I forget exactly.
Oh.
People could look it up. There's
Well,
this.
we haven't had a lot of riots lately.
Jason, you have to do that
I don't want to jinx
on
it.
the way home. It's like people are saying, where are these guys going to be in 20 minutes? We could stage a riot
That's a
around
good point.
them. Ugh.
So what do you think is going to happen with this fuel crisis, Charles? I mean, it's again another situation where they're claiming it's a hack. This has become their catch-all, and I think it's because there's a large swath of the population that's pretty technically illiterate, and when they hear there was a hack, they're like, oh my God.
We better strengthen the
cyber
internet.
attack. Right. Or get more money to, prevent people from doing whatever. I think they'll also say, oh, well, this was Russia or North Korea or whoever they want to bomb next. But there is no evidence. I mean, in my view,
What we should do, I think, what we do is we go to that fake hospital that they built,
what?
the hospital there on the far west side on 42nd Street.
Oh, the Javits Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
What we
Idiot
do-
Cuomo was there yesterday.
We get some of that baffling stuff that you're talking about for your apartment.
Yeah, the sound.
We make it white, not black.
Because it would be racist otherwise?
Well, no, just it's summertime. We don't want it to be too hot in there.
Aha.
And then you take somebody's ranting and raving like AOC. You know what you say, AOC? You got a point. Would you please come with us? I've got $100
Stick you
million
in this
check.
soundproof room.
$100 million check that you can collect if you just come with me over here. I've got this room over here. We'll give it to you, get you all set up, and you can run for Senate. I'll even convince Schumer to bow out. And you just start putting these people in soundproof rooms, give them food and water, and you leave them there for like 20 years.
Spout off.
The Chicken Little wing of both parties. We got this crisis, we got that crisis. We always need more of your money that you don't have because we're going to have to borrow it to do these grand plans that nobody ever checks.
But, I mean, wouldn't you agree that an event that causes the majority or a huge portion of gas stations, I mean, I'm seeing things on Twitter where people are in like South Carolina or North Carolina and like 70% of the gas stations have no gas.
Well, it's what it is. This is an example, I think, of what happened in the early days of the pandemic. I noticed it in my Gristides, that when they announced they were going to shut down, they give you a date.
Everybody goes crazy.
Everybody
and buys
goes into the store and buys everything. So when the rumor occurred that you wouldn't be able to get gas,
You fill out trash bags with gas.
people are filling their cars up and extra cars and doing all that stuff. and for a time pushing up the price of Chevron. Thank you very much. But
Isn't that Hugo Chavez?
no.
Chevron?
No. Chevron is in California. Another one you're thinking of is different. That I would
Well,
not.
but what I'm getting at is they just seem to, whatever happens, they say, oh, it was a hack. And I mean, why don't we have the head of the NSA coming out and giving us some detailed press conference as to what is going on, how it happened, why we're spending so many billions of dollars on all these programs, and this happens? They're
Well,
obviously ineffective.
Well, CrowdStrike is still working
Or
on
lying.
it. CrowdStrike is still working up its report on this, right?
Somebody made that joke, and I said, "Really? Are they using CrowdStrike?" But I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They told us Russia hacked the election. They said that for 4 years, never presented any evidence. Anybody who looked into it has seen that there is no evidence. Now they're saying this pipeline was hacked, but it seems like this is either deliberately done for Joe Biden as part of his plan, or the alternative is the CIA, the NSA, the FBI are morons who are unable to protect the country.
Yeah, I mean,
It's pretty loud.
sorry, we'll let this thing pass. There is Joe Biden's 4-month report card. You got a lot less than you bargained
Yeah.
for.
A lot less than the Smokers Depot. Whole lot of business going on here. Wow. What is she feeding that dog?
Duncan.
Apparently.
So,
A lot of people walking around outside with the mask.
yeah. And you saw the CDC report came out saying it's virtually impossible to get this by a casual contact. All that.
But I don't understand why those types of things being said by the CDC are pretty much ignored.
You got to cancel it on. Got to get that shit canceled.
Cancel CDC?
No, cancel anything that doesn't fit with a narrative.
Right.
So, actually, one thing I think we should watch, and maybe we'll see if this happens tonight. I got to believe that the beginning of the end for people like Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and in fact for Weinstein and others is when the late night TV hoax
Make fun of them?
make fun of them. And I got to believe the routine is coming on Bill Gates. It's
Well-
got, right? I mean, it's got to.
I mean, the thing about Bill Gates is that,
Look,
this is like mini French fries or something. It was strange to me when they said that Elon Musk is going on Saturday Night Live, that
he was funny.
I didn't really see too much of it.
I thought he was funny.
I find him funny just in his regular life, like on Joe Rogan and the stuff he does on Twitter. I think he's funny. There was this whole anti-Elon Musk movement, even from the actors on Saturday Night Live, because he's super rich, and that's not cool for them. But I mean, most of the people who have been on Saturday Night Live become pretty darn rich. When you look at Bill Murray, I mean, these guys, Eddie Murphy, they're kind of like the height of the comedy world, right? That's
Some
the
of them are
launch
really
pad.
very talented.
Oh, I'm not taking that away from it. I'm just saying, like, to be like, oh, we're part of the plebes or whatever they think they are.
No, they're not.
These are all destined to become multimillionaires from just being comedians.
If not already there.
I don't think you get paid that much on Saturday Night Live, but the idea is you're just like anointed when you're on there, and when you leave, you go and make movies, and Adam Sandler and Eddie Murphy, and the list is long of people. Mike Myers,
I think Lorne Michaels has made a lot of money off this.
Right.
Isn't he the
and
creator of it?
NBC. I think he owns it and everything. Right, he has. I'm just saying, to me, it was strange that those Saturday Night Live people were so anti-Elon Musk, and it seems to me each of them would go buy a Tesla. Stephen Colbert has a Tesla, he even said.
Yeah. Yep. I think sometimes those late night hosts do a service to us all and lighten things up. I think we all need to laugh a lot more than we're laughing, including poking fun at ourselves. I don't mind it if it's good natured.
I don't mind it either, but the latest round of late night hosts, since Trump became president, I've tuned out of late night TV. I actually like Jay Leno more
Oh,
than
he's
I used
great.
to when he was on TV, because he has a show on YouTube all about his fancy cars.
Yeah, and he comes across really well in that show.
I agree.
He relates well to his...
And he has regular people as the guests. It's no longer celebrities. It's like some guy with a 1968
Right.
Corvette or whatever.
And those car... Not careful.
Uh-huh.
That's...
This is
the
one
green,
of the
that's
many
the brown
hazards.
dude. That's the brown old deal.
That's, yeah. Wow, somebody really got hit.
What?
Smearing it all over the sidewalk. Yeah, Jay Leno's garage.
Funny. But
He was-
some of those super car nuts who have, hundreds of cars, they are really into it. I had the privilege of going through one of those once, and it was like aircraft hangars filled with cars. But
How do you like that piece of artwork up there, Charles? Yeah, I could tell.
Note, actually, some of the stuff that you bought is very nice, but if
That
somebody
looks
came back,
3D printed to me.
if somebody came to me and said, "We want to honor your contribution. Here's this thing," I'd say, "Well, can I give it to the Clinton Foundation?"
I wonder how Newmark Real Estate is doing. I used to rent my office from them, and I see this person's name a lot as well, Gabby Samet. They got a lot of spaces.
The grand transformation of 108 Leonard into what? A graffiti-ridden mess
Yeah.
with stupid city bikes in front so you can't park your car.
Well, Jay Leno last night had somebody who has that new Ferrari that we saw in
yeah?
the place. I didn't realize this. It's a hybrid. It's the first turbocharged electric hybrid four-wheel drive Ferrari ever, and it's 980 horsepower.
That's pretty
That's
significant.
like helicopter level of power.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you figure? You want to go up 6th Avenue or you want to go?
Let's go a different way than what we came
All right.
down, because there's a lot of stuff that's out of business that people can check out, and we are. So there's 2 amps coming out of the sound recorder due to my feature request, which thank you Sound Devices for doing that.
Good.
I've had the light on the phone at full blast, which I've never been able to do before, and we're at 49% right now.
Now you are dangerously close to speaking Swahili to me, but I appreciate that update.
Now, this is also out. I'll tell you one thing about the masks that I actually like.
It covers up a lot of ugly.
Well, it just immediately identifies a huge portion of the population that I probably don't want to interact with, and I'll save a lot of time figuring that out.
Natural selection.
Yes. This is...
I think this one here used to be a good restaurant.
Not anymore.
Still is, yeah. Not anymore.
I guess this
No,
is
now
Japanese.
no. It used to be that one over there, I guess.
So these guys are building an outdoor space. Why is I mean, have they changed something about indoor dining? Do they not have, or is it just because it's summertime, I guess?
I don't know. Technically springtime.
Well,
Not
I
summer
mean,
till
coming.
June 21.
Right, coming. So I guess building an outdoor thing makes more sense to do it now if your restaurant is still open. So de Blasio had a tweet this morning talking about they're closing down certain streets or avenues to cars to make it foot traffic. And he's like, it'll be wonderful. Restaurants, pedestrians. And I was like, idiot, have you looked outside? All the restaurants are closed and everybody's moved out.
He's somebody who was told he's a cool kid and hasn't figured out that he's got not a violence target on his back, but a ridicule target all over his back. You know?
I've noticed just today several of these Haddad's production trucks. So there's
Sure.
either multiple or one extremely large production going on. Another sign of
That's a
life
business.
returning.
That's a business that must be very, very profitable for the owner.
Renting those things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, anything to do. That's all union stuff. Driving the trucks around and
But whoever Haddad is,
yeah, I'm sure.
Haddad is a money god.
Right.
Well, you've been through those productions. I don't think that the the big studios, I don't know anything about it, but I wouldn't guess they say, well, you know, we want to be really, really careful with our expenses. Let's make sure we have off-brand orange juice. We don't want fresh squeeze. I mean, I don't think that's the way it is at all. It's
no, when you're dealing with a production like Spider-Man, there were days that we had lobster and filet mignon for lunch.
Huh.
And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Because they're out of caviar?
They didn't have caviar, and they didn't do that every day. I mean, it was a pretty regular lunch every day, but the fact that they would have that at all, particularly before the product hits the market and performs, to be rewarding people with such a... I mean, I just think it was ridiculous. And that film was terrible.
So you turned down your lobster and your filet mignon?
Oh, no, I ate plenty of that.
Yeah.
And that was actually the easiest day of working in my life, and the most money I've ever been paid per minute.
Really?
Well, just given the amount of work I had to do that day. There's some clicking happening. Hang on.
You want to get over there, Jason?
Today. Thanks everybody for sticking with us through thick and thin here. I think it's back, Charles.
Okay. Sorry. How long it might be?
Wait a minute. Okay. There we go. It's been a bit of a crazy production today.
Yeah, there's a young
I think
lady
we might have been.
who likes leather.
Yeah. We might have been not having our good audio for a portion of the show, but
That's all right.
boy, it's a challenge to keep these things going. I appreciate people who are sticking with us. Oh, I meant to tell you, Crowdsource the Truth 3 is now out of jail. So we're broadcasting on Crowdsource the Truth 3 today.
Go with that one? Uh-huh. Good. And forever, and also Sunday with Charles channel? Or?
Yeah, we should be live streaming on each of those, and I do believe I've also set them up. Crowdsource the Truth Forever would have. Wow, look at this is like a Bong superstore, Charles. Look at that.
Do you want me to give you 5 or 10 minutes?
No, that's fine. It's just amazing to see. I don't think that this was a Bong superstore before.
What's up, man?
Everything good?
We got the light.
A lot of stuff closed.
When I was a little kid, this shop here is where you would buy these mechanical toys.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Right here. Let's go one down. I think it's
Sure.
nicer than this. What is this street? Green
I
Street.
hope we're back to live. What a jackass.
Here's Green. That's Green Street.
I tell you, Charles, there was some things about the pandemic that I actually liked. All these idiots from New Jersey honking in our face. We're staying in New Jersey. And people are like, stop discriminating against people from New Jersey. But they're driving right to the Holland Tunnel right here.
Right. There's somebody from Oklahoma. Definitely got lost.
What's he doing going to New Jersey?
Going home. Via New Jersey. And
All these places are closed.
now, is this is technically Tribeca?
Well, yeah, because we're on Houston, so I guess we're not in Soho. Although, I don't know, if you count the north tip of the sidewalk, we're in Soho.
This is Worcester Street, kind of quiet. I think
This looks like fresh graffiti here.
Yeah, nice. Were you? This what you did before you ran into me in the park?
Yeah. Well, but the thing I was going to tell everybody is that, you know, Crowdsource the Truth 3 is back. So
Back,
we're on that
baby.
channel. And then there's a lot of people who did not realize where we were for the past 2 weeks. That channel got a strike, so we were broadcasting on Crowdsource the Truth Forever, and also on the new Sunday with Charles YouTube channel. And also, really the best way for people to keep up with the live streams, particularly if you see that they aren't happening, is to become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. That's pretty strong bass. Do you feel that?
Mix up, just ignore it.
To keep right to I-78, Holland Tunnel, New Jersey.
He's got very loud waves.
He's got anger management problems. Let's go.
But I mean, that's strong bass. I can feel it in my chest.
That can't be a pleasant experience.
Inside the car, you mean?
Yeah, he must have a wife or girlfriend he doesn't want to talk to.
Or actually, no ears.
That's true. So now we're on West Broadway, and this is pretty fancy territory here. Didn't used to be. Soho Grand.
Yeah. Well, so see, that's north of Houston, so it's kind of lying.
It's grand, Jason.
Yeah, I know.
If you're grand, you can do what
Grand
you want.
deception, Charles.
You do what you want. So Soho Muse.
Also,
But
north
really,
of
this is much nicer than it used to be. In fact, I would argue that this is probably, once it comes back to life, forgetting the obscene cost of living around here, it's probably pretty pleasant to hang out here on the weekends when people clean out of the city and go pretend they're having fun in the Hamptons, which they're not.
Whoa, look at this. I haven't seen this before. This reminds me of Gaudi. A little bit.
You know what it
This
is?
is like some fancy apartment building, I would think.
Alternatively known as some fancy money-losing real estate speculation.
Bizarro.
Not a good look.
You're not going to get your hands fully tattooed?
Again, no, I don't want to do that again. It took so long to undo that.
Yeah.
This, I think, used to be a very good Italian
Il
restaurant.
Molino, this is
Another one, right?
a fancy place.
I think there's another one uptown.
I think that's correct.
Oh my God, sorry.
We're right around where they used to have a red camera store.
Yeah, I knew that.
I think it's out of business, though. I haven't heard much about it.
Oh boy.
Closed.
Clippers.
Well, this is a good area to survey. We haven't been down here in a while.
I know, a lot of empty stuff.
Unbelievable. How do de Blasio and Cuomo have the nerve to come out and say we're back? So yeah, Cuomo yesterday was up at the Javits Center where he was announcing the wonderful new expansion of it to get people to come back to New York. I have to,
Call bullshit on that?
well, it feels like the money from the federal whatever they were doing over there, did that not somehow help it with the rehabilitation of the Javits Center and not actually help any COVID patients?
I mean, I was last there in 2014.
Javits?
Javits Center, to go to near there to go to a Bloomberg conference. And it was interesting to see. There was a lot of new development, but there wasn't much in the way of restaurants and shops
Definitely
and whatever.
not. You can't even get a taxi over there very easily.
And it's a long walk.
It's terrible. It's the worst.
Yeah.
That's why there's virtually no conventions in New York.
Maybe we could move.
You.
That's what I'm.
What do you say?
I said, what are you filming? Stupid questions get snarky answers.
Yeah. We're from the Stupid Question Show. I'm trying to ask.
Yeah,
Give
interviewing.
people a chance to ask the stupidest of questions, and at the end we'll get a panel of morons. We'll decide which one is the stupidest of all.
Yeah. And it'll be voted on by people driving in their cars with masks on. Which there's no short supply of.
Yeah.
Better that way.
Blocking the crosswalk. Trying to break people's knees.
Now, one thing that's interesting we haven't talked about is that Rand Paul and others
Fauci.
are rounding on Fauci and accusing Fauci and demanding, in fact, a criminal investigation into whether Fauci somehow arranged for monies to be sent to the Wuhan virology
And he
place.
said they didn't.
Well, again, he's answering the question very carefully.
Rand Paul.
Not Rand Paul. Fauci's answering the
But Rand
question.
Paul deconstructed that.
Right. Oh, he did?
Oh yeah, he was on.
Tucker?
No, that guy who's on. I don't know his name. Some Fox guy. But Rand Paul went on there and pointed out that Fauci technically was correct, and that the NIH and the NIAID or whatever didn't send the money directly, but they sent it to an intermediary
Who sent it? The money, yeah.
who sent them the money, and that Fauci's name was on a report written by one of the scientists who was doing the bat research, the gain of function research in Wuhan.
Right.
So hopefully there will be a criminal investigation into Fauci, but it's a little bit like too late.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is he, 81 now?
No, I'm talking about everything's been ruined already.
Right, I know, but to hold him accountable by the time you get to that place,
I
if you
don't
ever
care.
do.
Throw his ass in jail. 81, 95, doesn't matter. I bet you'd have a really crappy time in jail if you're 81.
Or a good time.
I don't think jail is good.
I'm
If you're
certain
21.
it's not good, but so yeah, we're on here's Spring Street. That's fancy stuff. There's a
Jail Fauci could be the new hashtag. So will Rand Paul get anywhere with that? That just happened like yesterday or today, didn't
right, but it's gaining a certain amount of traction. I mean, people like that idiot Allison Camerata, who used to be on Fox and now is on CNN. It's like, wait a minute, what happened?
it? I don't know, Alex.
And they're starting to realize that people who are asking questions. I mean, I love under the W. Bush years. I remember when Pelosi got on yet another jet to go meet with Assad, even though W said don't do that. She said dissent is the highest form of American patriotism, something like that. That's when she's in the minority.
Right. As long as the plane has a full complement of booze.
Right, and she can, send more money to her husband and daughter and son. But now it's flipped around, and if you doubt the Biden party line, you're going to be scrubbed by this possibly a private security team, which the government, one or more teams which the government is talking about.
Banging Olufsen out.
Wow.
Charles, I'm convinced that those private security teams have already been utilized for some time.
Oh, sure.
And that one of them has been focusing their attention on Crowdsource the Truth and the various guests that come on the show.
I think that's
And
true.
that's not a guess. I have a huge array of evidence that causes me to believe that.
Right.
I'm just hopeful that I'm able to maneuver properly through these legal cases to bring that stuff to light. A lot of people...
We're missing, I'm sorry, I'm pulling a Jason on you.
It's okay.
Would you go into that La Perla store over there to
It's
get
an underwear store, isn't it?
It's like Victoria's Secret, but more expensive. But look what they've done to that store.
It can't possibly still be open.
No, of course not. Sorry to do that to you.
It's okay. I
Didn't
don't
want
mind.
to miss the
It's
moment.
a lively conversation, and sometimes these things pop up. What was I saying?
I forget.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Sorry.
That's all right. See, when you look for it, I want to point something out. See that?
That's a Calder. That's an Alexander Calder. Or it's a fake
I
Alexander
don't
Calder.
care who the artist
No,
is,
it's a very famous artist.
but the content of the image. These are symbols that the FBI has linked. In WikiLeaks, they showed an FBI document linking those symbols to pedophilia. So perhaps it's an accident that that's there, or perhaps this artist knows that and put that there, but these symbols are showing up everywhere.
Are they really? Yeah. I don't know if Calder is still alive.
I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just saying those symbols have been associated by somebody with that,
Yeah.
and it's just curious to see where they show up.
Yep. Now, you still think it's not a good idea to have a jacket on?
Not a good idea to do what?
To not have a jacket on?
I feel fine.
All right, you'd say that. You say
I'm
they're
not cold at
chattering
all.
ice cubes on your head. I'm fine,
not
Charles.
cold at
Okay, all right. Good. As you age, you got to take better care of yourself. Heat and cold thing in the sun. So I'm babying myself.
No, I'm fine.
All right, good.
So, there really has been nothing that I've heard from Joe Biden about what they plan to do about the gas crisis.
I mean, there's these clips. We started talking about it.
I thought it was a rat. It's a bird. The
And
clips? What
of
clips?
Joe saying, I've
Alan Jones,
got
right.
the thing to do is, well, what we're going to do is, well, anyway, the plan,
You know the thing.
the thing. And it's just, you don't, I have to believe that in any well-managed operation, there are a large number of people to select from to be your spokesperson. You don't just take
The dumbest one.
the worst one.
Is the Leica store closed?
I don't know. But there are a lot of people who would enjoy the privilege and are good at getting up in front of a podium and answering questions spontaneously. Joe Biden is not one of those
No.
people. And Jen Psaki is also not one of those people. So this just suggests to me that there is no grown-up around the administration.
Did you see that veal parmesan?
I didn't.
Oh my God, it looked good.
You want me to leave you off here? And
No, it's okay. People will be upset that I want to eat a baby cow locked in a box.
But there is no grown-up around the Biden administration who can go and say, listen, this is a stupid fucking idea. Joe, if you're going to go up in front of the podium, you have to rehearse it. You have to have a code. You can't do what he did.
But that's like trying to tell a German shepherd to remember its lines. It's just not even a conversation that could be had.
I think a German shepherd would do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be like, how's it going your first 100 days, President Shepard? Rough.
Wow, riveting. And then Brian Stelter at CNN would be saying, wow, what an eloquent assessment of our
Well,
current.
we know you're having a rough time, but you know, by the way, what do you think is going to happen in the next 100 days? Rough.
That's right. He takes a
Dump on the podium.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for furnishing that sustainable energy that we will use now.
Editorial commentary from President Shepard.
He's
He's not eligible. He's German. No, we have the birth certificate. It's a PDF. We'll email it to you. Come to Hawaii. Get on the aquatic
Come to
plane.
Germany. Come to Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really pathetic, and it's sad. And then you think about the phrase I have witnessed in business is that a fish does rot from the head. If you have a crappy CEO, chances are you're going to have really
Bad performance at the company.
well. You're going to have only weak people are going to go work for a crappy CEO.
Right.
And there were reports that the sycophantic press is now beginning to complain about the fact that in order to get a quote on attribution back from the administration, you have to submit the questions and allow the administration to edit the answer in the story, which is something I've never wanted to do or been given the chance to do. And that is to say, in all the interviews I do, I answer the questions either on the phone or in writing, and then I'll let the person write the story. And if they want to come back and they want to ask me follow-on questions, that's fine too. But to demand as a precondition to giving somebody an interview that you get the right to see how your quotes look in the story and then edit it.
That's crazy.
You know, that's a Hillary Clinton
It's
school.
PR. It's not.
Well, the Hillary Clinton school, right? Debate? You want me to debate Trump? Well, I got to have the answers.
Right.
You know, I got to have the FBI investigating him.
Make sure his microphone doesn't work.
Right, and make sure the FBI investigates everybody involved with him and bleach bits and destroys all the computers and hardware
Right.
in our epic Clinton Foundation frauds. On that basis, I'll pretend that I'm running for office. Because we all know we're going to rig it. And I'll be president, and if you cross me, you know what happens to people who cross me. And that's basically what happened.
Vince Foster.
And another long list. I think that's what happened in 7-8, that's what happened in 15-16, that's what happened during the entire Trump presidency and afterwards. And in hindsight, I know Molly Hemingway is a great author and investigative journalist. She's working on a book on the 2020 election, which is going to be supposedly very hard-hitting. And to do it right, we're going to have to go through the mistakes that Trump made. And as
There's
he thinks,
plenty.
well, everybody makes mistakes. And as he thinks about running, which he apparently is, you're not going to get across the line with even 70% of the people who voted for him in 16 and 20. You're not going to get those people across the line unless you own up to your mistakes and explain how this time really will be different.
Yeah, why didn't you hashtag lock her up? Why didn't you hashtag drain the swamp?
Right.
Why didn't you hashtag shut down Twitter and declare them supporters of terrorists and arrest Jack Dorsey?
And Facebook.
And Facebook. And Google.
Yeah, you'll have to explain all of that, which perhaps you will,
And fire William Barr.
with extreme prejudice.
It just did so much stuff.
That's one where you were ahead of the curve on that one. I really felt that Barr would do the right thing. And
Well, because I remember when he was being confirmed, I was watching. And he was like, I was outside counsel for the CIA. I was like, whoa, 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 what? And then I just started Googling a little bit, and it was just like immediately, I was like, holy crap.
I'm giving you credit here, Jim.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
No,
But,
you deserve it.
but I mean, how does Donald Trump not know how to do that? Somebody today put a comment on some video. Who is this again right here? Jackie Gleason?
Langone. Well, that's Fiorello LaGuardia.
Oh, is it? The guy they named the worst airport after.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Otherwise known as short and fat.
Yeah, it's a strange. He's like at a hoedown or something.
He was I don't know how tall he was, but he was reasonably short. I don't know who was shorter, him or Abe Beam. Abe Beam was also short.
Well, so somebody put a comment on one of the videos on YouTube saying that he thinks that Trump was part of the swamp and fooling us all along.
I don't think so.
And I mean, there are certain things that he did. I mean, it's sort of like this hack on the pipeline. Either you didn't know about it and that makes you a dope, or you know something that you're not telling us and that makes you complicit.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, I think Trump did try.
One mistake he made, which is easy for me to say, is that he involved his family too much in the administration. That was a big mistake.
Yeah, Jared was not good.
I mean, and Ivanka and all this, because that you create an organization, you create a family business with all the problems that are involved with the family business and none of the benefits, right? You can't make any money.
Right.
And so anybody who would think about joining that administration, knowing that at the end of every cabinet meeting there might be a session up in the private quarters of the White House.
Ivanka overrides everything.
Yeah, that's not an exercise that somebody in his or her 40s, 50s, 60s and up is going to waste precious years on. Just
But
like,
also, what about their relationship with what's her name, the Chinese spy who was married to what's his name, the Australian spy?
you're thinking about Elaine Chao.
Is that who was married? No, not.
To McConnell's
No.
wife?
The news.
Rupert
Murdoch.
Murdoch. Yeah. No, they're on. Ivanka is on the board of the Murdoch Family Trust.
And that woman, apparently, when Jared and Ivanka were going to break up, the Chinese spy who's married,
when was that going to happen? I didn't hear about that.
I know this is a whole story that somebody was telling me that they were going to break up, and
When?
whatever Murdoch's wife's name was got them to get back together.
The one who was banging Tony Blair. That one?
I don't know about that part of the
No,
story.
she was, I think.
But I mean, that's what I mean. It's like, why? What kind of attractive? I guess he's a billionaire, so that's why. But I don't know. I don't believe that kind of story. And I think there's something going on there with Rupert Murdoch and all these people. And I just don't trust Jared Kushner at all. I think it's going to be real tough for me to vote for Trump in 2024. It just comes.
Which way do you want to go here?
Let's go this way. I've been down this far south on 6th Ave over there. But I don't know. I think he made a valiant effort, but he couldn't make it. And I just don't think.
So far, I mean, we'll see. It certainly is the case now that the people fighting the recounts and fighting the investigations into voting irregularities are behaving like they are guilty as sin, right? They're not. If you truly were sure that Biden had won this compelling mandate, you'd say, look, I mean, yeah, let's have as many recounts as you want. They're just going to show that we won. But they're not doing that. They're using underhanded tricks to try to frustrate it. They're spinning like crazy in media and social media. And I don't know what that is.
It's a Steadicam. I'm trying to see if I know the operator.
But for what, though?
I don't know the operator.
That's a big.
Looks like
It's got to be heavy, right?
Sony Genesis. Oh yeah, those are heavy. Well, actually, that's probably the grip, not the operator. The operator's sitting in the seat with the face mask on. Phil! Nah, it's not him. I don't know who that is.
Could be somebody named Bill.
Most of the guys that I know would be in LA. I don't know that guy. I've been out of the industry for 10
You are the
years.
industry, right?
Oh, look at this guy.
JDW.
3336.
I see you're 33 and raise you a 36.
36, right.
Yeah. This is where I used to, when I was a kid, we walked by it before. Around the corner is where my mother's pipe organ was stored.
Yeah, this is the NYU Law School where I yelled at Andrew McCabe. I mean, that guy got away scot-free, book deals, GoFundMe.
He's still a loser.
Well, yeah, but he's a loser driving around in a Porsche, living in a big house somewhere in Virginia or Maryland or
Still a
something like
loser.
that. But I mean, why? It's like, Charles, I'm talking about Donald Trump now.
He's not a loser. I mean, he lost.
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. He lost.
But that doesn't make him fundamentally a loser in every respect. I mean,
In that case,
he lost.
He
the
lost.
point, yeah.
And I think that, so I'm just thinking William Barr, okay? There are certain people who I hired to work for me at 21st Century 3D. One time I had this idea to hire a salesperson, hopeful that would increase sales. The person came on, it just
Took your money and
well, right, and made no sales. So I didn't wait 3.5 years and tweet, and hopefully this person's gonna sell something. I fired them.
did
So
you
why
say
the
you're
hell-
fired?
I just said it's not working out because that person wasn't a jerk or anything. They were older than me and had an old school approach, and we were kind of on the precipice of internet marketing and stuff that this person didn't really know about. But the point is, what the hell is up with keeping William Barr around saying, I hope something's going to happen with John Durham? I hope. Should have just.
Well, you saw the report that Trump wanted to fire Wray, and Barr threatened to resign if he did that.
Yeah, it would be perfect. 2 birds with 1 stone. Both of you losers hit the bricks, and we're getting somebody new in here.
Yeah. I think the public would have been for it, but the insiders just didn't like the idea that Trump was firing people right and left because they don't want to be fired. They don't want accountability.
He did not drain hard enough.
He didn't drain anything.
That's what I'm saying. He was kind of like in a paddle boat in the swamp, circling around saying, I'm going to drain this.
Well, if you were to go back to some of his apprentice shows in Celebrity Apprentice, when you hire somebody to do a job, it's like this energy team we hired to drill oil wells in France. And they come up with Perrier instead of petroleum, and then I have a meeting.
They're also fired.
No, well, they were heavily disciplined, but I'm in this meeting where we're going over what went wrong. And these guys are saying, no, it was a success. It's fantastic.
Why?
Well, we sank the drill bit underground 2,000 meters and it went to where it was supposed to go. They said, that's not what we hired you for. We hired you to find freaking petroleum.
It's not possible.
No, they were from Texas. You're the ones who said there was petroleum there.
Oh, they were from Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Charles, look, there's a weed world right there. So that's what I wanted to tell you is that
You need to end the progress and get some weed?
No. When I was coming over here, Game Stonk on 6th Avenue closed. Their store closed. And Weed World had a truck parked right out in front like they're moving in.
They're jonesing
just-
the spot?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just thinking like it's interesting to see what businesses are closing and what businesses are opening. And I'm highly suspicious of these businesses that were involved in the whole Reddit stock squeeze. What was that called? Short squeeze?
Yeah, short squeeze.
I just am highly suspicious of those businesses. I saw another article that a landlord in Florida is suing AMC for not paying the rent. I would have thought they owned that real estate. What the hell does that company have if they don't own real estate?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
So the whole thing is screwy to me.
Did you ever eat here, Tio Pepe?
Tio Pepe, I had my first date with my college girlfriend there.
Yeah. It used to be a nice place. Now I
I haven't been in there in a long, long time, probably 20-something years.
I used to go here every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, I liked it.
Haven't been there in over 14 months. And for those who really, let's do this actually, take a little bit of a detour. I just want to show people
Sure.
this meat store.
You know this bar is named after the American Werewolf in London, right?
The what?
Slaughtered Lamb Pub.
So you see this thing over here, Florence Meat Market? Florence
Yeah.
Prime Meat Market. Let's just walk a little bit closer. This
Holy
is,
cow, is this a record store?
it is.
Wow.
So this is, to say that this is a nondescript storefront, right, is an understatement, right? But
Yep.
if you want, and I have no business interest in this, sorry. If you want really high quality beef, chicken, lamb, whatever, you go to this place. It's incredible. They provide. They'll sell to the public, but they also sell a lot to restaurants. So some of the high-end restaurants.
I think that's more of their business. It says only one customer at a time.
Right. But it's really fantastic stuff. In fact, later this week I might get some high-end stuff.
And then if you need some vinyl, you have this one.
And
How
if
many
you need-
record stores remain in New York City?
I don't know, man. You need to ask them.
You don't work there?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Is it Trivial Pursuit now? Or?
I mean, it can't be that many. There's like that. There's one over there on Bleecker Street.
There's one right here.
Oh, I think this is losing battery. Hang on a second. How is it doing that? I have it plugged into the auxiliary.
I propose we end in
Sure.
the next block there. So
Yeah, we're very close. So,
and this, you see that building there that has the low building there with the semicircular door thing above the door? That connects to a building on the other side. And I forget whether it's 161, is that 63 or 83? That building or the other one, both went all the way through to Washington Place. And Arm & Hammer, the famous Occidental Petroleum guy, owned one of those double sets of buildings.
so what's the deal with the company Arm and Hammer?
Well, there are all sorts of credible allegations that Hammer was a Soviet spy and maybe even a little Epsteinish.
But what does that have to do with the baking soda company?
I have no idea,
Why
but
is
his
the
name
name-
was Arm & Hammer. The baking some, I have no idea.
His name is ARMON
No, ARMAND.
or whatever. Armand, right? Hammer. Not Arm and Hammer. But that's so strange to me. And then now he's got like a son or a grandson
It's called
named
what?
Army Hammer.
It's called Leg and Screwdriver or what?
He was in some spy movie that was pretty good with that guy who played Superman. I forget the name of the movie. But this is strange to me that the guy's name is Army. I mean, that can't be a coincidence.
So I'm going to go in here and get some
All right, well then
vittles.
we'll end the show, Charles.
Good.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to become a sponsor, and also don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday with Charles YouTube channel, Crowdsource the Truth forever. We're back on Crowdsource the Truth 3, been under strike for 2 weeks. Become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Get all the live streams. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you tomorrow.